A few years ago, I faced a turning point in a relationship. I cared deeply for someone, but over time I felt like my constant efforts, texts, calls, and plans were being taken for granted. So, I made a choice. I stopped texting first, I stopped calling. I allowed silence to fill the space where my presence used to be. At first it felt uncomfortable, almost unbearable. But slowly something remarkable happened. They noticed. The messages came more often, and the tone was more thoughtful. What changed? I had stepped back, not to be noticed, but to rediscover my worth. Have you ever wondered what happens when you stop looking for someone? Today, we'll explore this powerful lesson through the lens of Stoic philosophy, the art of emotional detachment and self-mastery. This isn't about manipulation. It's about embracing your value and letting silence speak louder than words. If you're ready to reclaim your power, like this video, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and let's begin this transformative journey together. 1. The power of silence. Silence is not just the absence of words, it's the presence of strength. When you stop reaching out and let go of the constant need to be heard, you allow silence to take center stage. And in that silence, something remarkable happens. It becomes a force that speaks louder than anything you could ever say. As Rumi wisely said, the quieter you become, the more you can hear. This idea is at the core of Stoic philosophy. It's about stepping back and redirecting your energy, not outward, but inward. When you stop looking for someone, you reclaim your time, focus, and peace. This isn't about disappearing or playing mind games. It's about creating space to rediscover your worth. Imagine a candle in a brightly lit room. Its glow is barely noticeable, lost in the brightness of everything else. But take that same candle into the dark, and suddenly, it's a beacon of light. This is what silence does for your value. It creates contrast. It allows your absence to be felt, not as emptiness, but as a reminder of the light you bring. But here's the most powerful part. This silence isn't about them. It's about you. It's about reclaiming the energy you've spent trying to be seen, trying to be heard, trying to matter. Stoicism teaches us that the things we cannot control, others' feelings, reactions, or recognition, should never define us. What we can control, however, is how we show up for ourselves. And in silence, we find that control. Take a moment to reflect on the last time you stepped back from a relationship, a situation, or a person. What did you notice? Perhaps it was uncomfortable at first. Silence has a way of amplifying insecurities. But as time passed, you likely began to see things differently. That space you created wasn't just a void, it was a mirror. It showed you what truly matters and what doesn't. When you stop chasing, you create a shift in dynamics. Your absence becomes loud. Those who took you for granted start to notice the void. They begin to wonder, why the silence? What's changed? But their questions, while intriguing, aren't the point. The real power of silence lies in the transformation it brings to you. It allows you to let go of the noise and focus on your growth. Silence is not a weakness. It's not a surrender. It's a deliberate choice. It's clarity. It's the opportunity to step back, not to disappear, but to rise stronger. When you embrace silence, you take the first step toward mastering yourself. 2. The initial impact. Have you ever walked into a room where the music suddenly stops? The silence feels jarring, unsettling, and almost unnatural. This is what happens when you step back from someone's life. Your absence isn't just a lack of presence, it's a void they can't ignore. At first, it might seem inconsequential. They might not even notice right away. But slowly, that void begins to grow louder, like a missing note in a familiar melody. Stoic philosophy teaches us to detach from what we cannot control and focus on our inner peace. When you remove yourself from someone's daily routine, you create space, not just for them to reflect, but for you to regain clarity. Think of the sun shining brightly every day. Its warmth becomes so constant that it's taken for granted. But when the clouds roll in or night falls, the absence of its light is felt deeply. This is the power of your absence. It turns what was once overlooked into something unmistakable. At first, they might shrug off the silence. It's just a phase, they might think. But as the days pass, they start to feel it. The rhythm of their life shifts. Those small interactions they relied on, the texts, the calls, the comforting presence, are no longer there. Suddenly, their days feel incomplete, like a familiar story with missing chapters. Your absence becomes a presence of its own. filling the gaps with questions and uncertainty. This is not about manipulation or trying to make someone feel bad. Instead, it's about creating a natural pause, a moment for both of you to reassess what truly matters. In that silence, you reclaim the energy you may have given too freely. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control, our emotions, actions, and growth, while letting go of how others perceive us. You cannot control their feelings, but you can control the meaning you assign to this silence. Picture a fire that burns steadily. When it's always present, its warmth becomes a background comfort. But when the fire goes out, the cold rushes in and its heat is missed with intensity. That's the essence of your absence. It highlights the value of your presence by contrast. Here's the important takeaway. This moment isn't about them. It's about you. It's about understanding that your worth isn't tied to how someone else reacts. It's about finding strength in your silence, letting it echo in your life while you focus on your growth. Silence is not surrender. It's a deliberate choice. It's an act of self-respect and a declaration of independence. It allows your value to shine in the quietest yet most profound way. 3. The rise of curiosity. What happens when you step back and let silence take its place? At first, it's easy to think they'll forget you entirely, but something far more profound often occurs. Your absence creates space, not just in their daily routine, but in their thoughts. That space starts to fill with questions, curiosity, and an awareness they didn't have before. They begin to ask themselves, why have they gone quiet? Did I do something wrong? Have they moved on to something or someone better? These questions don't arise all at once. They creep in gradually, like the first rays of light after a long night. And as those questions grow louder, so does their curiosity about you. This isn't about manipulating their thoughts. It's a natural response to the sudden change in the dynamics of your relationship. Stoic philosophy reminds us that true power lies in focusing on what we can control. When you step back, you're not trying to manipulate their feelings or actions. Instead, you're allowing yourself to refocus your energy, your time, and your emotional reserves. That shift isn't just noticeable to you, it's felt deeply by them, even if they don't acknowledge it right away. Imagine their thoughts like a river flowing steadily. When you were always present, their thoughts followed the same familiar path. But now without you there, the flow is disrupted. The river changes course, winding into uncharted territory. They start wondering what you're doing, who you're spending time with, and why you've chosen silence. Curiosity grows because human nature craves certainty, and when it loses access to you, it loses its sense of certainty. Take a moment to reflect on this from your perspective. Have you ever lost contact with someone important? At first, you might brush it off, but as the days pass, small reminders pop up, a favorite song, a shared joke, or a specific habit they had. These moments trigger thoughts, and suddenly, they're in your mind more than before. This is the exact experience they're going through now. Your absence is no longer just a void. It's a trigger for reflection. Here's where the true power lies. When you let go, you become unpredictable. When you're no longer the one reaching out, initiating conversations, or seeking validation, they can no longer rely on you as they once did. This unpredictability is magnetic. It sparks a deep desire to understand the change. People are naturally drawn to what they can't figure out, and your silence makes them realize how little they truly understand about you. As Marcus Aurelius advised, be indifferent to what makes no difference. The key is not to wait for their curiosity to turn into action, but to use this time for your growth. Focus on the things you can control, your peace, your goals, and your inner strength. Your silence isn't just a pause for them to reflect, it's a moment for you to grow. As their curiosity about you rises, so does the awareness of your value. But remember, the purpose isn't to make them chase you, it's to rediscover yourself. Silence doesn't just echo in their life, it amplifies your worth in yours. 4. Regret and realization. Have you ever lost something you didn't truly appreciate until it was gone? Perhaps it was a small keepsake, a routine, or even a connection you took for granted. This is exactly what they begin to feel in your absence. Regret has a way of creeping in slowly, but when it hits deeply. It's not just a fleeting thought. It's a realization that reshapes how they see you. At first, your absence may feel like a minor inconvenience. They might think, oh, they're just busy, or this won't last. But as time passes, the subtle void you left becomes harder to ignore. They start to notice the little things, the messages you used to send, the effort you put into the relationship, the unwavering support you offered. What once seemed ordinary now feels extraordinary. This is where Stoic philosophy offers a powerful lesson. When we step back, we allow others to reflect on what they've lost. As Marcus Aurelius said, loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. Your absence forces them to confront that change and its impact. They begin to replay moments in their mind, questioning their actions or lack thereof. Why didn't I appreciate them more? Why did I take their presence for granted? These questions grow louder as regret sets in, and while their regret may seem like validation, it's not about their reaction. This is about your growth, your resilience, and your ability to prioritize your value over their recognition. Imagine your presence as a steady flame that warmed their days. When it was always there, they didn't think twice about it. But now that it's gone, the cold rushes in, and the memory of your warmth becomes a constant reminder of what they've lost. This regret isn't meant to harm them. It's a natural response to recognizing value too late. Think about this. How many times have you only realized someone's worth after they were no longer part of your life? It's a universal experience, but the beauty of this situation lies in how you respond. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our growth, our ability to let go. Regret from their side might lead them to reach out, but your goal isn't to wait for that moment. Your goal is to keep growing, to let your silence become a reminder of your strength, not a plea for their attention. As regret turns into realization, they start to see your absence not as a punishment, but as a wake-up call. They understand that you brought something irreplaceable into their life, something they can't easily find elsewhere. But here's the key. This isn't about making them miss you. It's about showing, through your actions and silence, that your value isn't tied to their recognition. Your worth shines independently, whether they notice it or not. If you've ever felt the sting of being overlooked, let this be your moment to reclaim your power. Let their regret be a reflection of their journey, not your destination. You are more than their memories of you. You are the person growing stronger every day, building a life that doesn't rely on their validation. 5. The magnetism of independence. Have you ever noticed how independence draws people in? There's something magnetic about a person who doesn't seek validation, who stands strong on their own, and who radiates confidence. When you stop chasing, when you shift your focus inward, you create a profound change, not just in how others see you, but in how you see yourself. Stoic philosophy teaches us that true strength comes from within. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When you step back and embrace your independence, you're not giving up on connection. You're reclaiming your energy. You're letting the world know that your worth isn't tied to anyone else's approval. Imagine a tree standing alone on a hill. Its roots grow deep into the earth, holding it steady even against the strongest winds. It doesn't need support from others. It stands tall because its strength comes from within. This is what happens when you stop seeking validation and start focusing on your growth. You become that tree, resilient, unshakable, and impossible to ignore. When you pull back, people often feel the void you leave behind. But something else happens too. They notice the change in you. Your silence speaks volumes, not just because of its absence, but because of what it represents. Growth, self-assurance, and the ability to thrive without needing recognition. This kind of independence is rare, and it's captivating. It draws people in, not because you're chasing them, but because they're intrigued by your strength. Take a moment to think about the last time you admired someone. Chances are, it wasn't because they were trying to impress you. It was likely their quiet confidence, their sense of purpose, or their ability to navigate life on their terms that drew you to them. This is the power you cultivate when you embrace your independence. You shift the focus from seeking attention to becoming the kind of person who commands respect. But this journey isn't just about how others perceive you. It's about the transformation that happens within. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our growth. By letting go of the need for external validation, you free yourself from the emotional ups and downs that come from relying on others. You find stability, peace, and a deeper sense of purpose. Of course, this doesn't mean you stop caring about others or building meaningful connections. It means those connections are no longer built on neediness or insecurity. Instead, they're founded on mutual respect and understanding. When people see that you're thriving on your own, they're more likely to approach you with admiration and sincerity, not out of obligation or pity. So what does this mean for you? It means taking the time to invest in yourself, your goals, your passions, and your inner peace. It means letting your silence and independence speak for you, showing the world that your value shines brightest when it's not tied to anyone else's approval. 6. Reflection and their personal growth. When silence enters the equation, something remarkable begins to unfold, not just for you, but for them. Your absence creates a mirror, forcing them to confront their actions, priorities, and the space you once filled. This period of reflection, while difficult, often leads to clarity, both for you and for them. It's a reminder that growth often emerges from moments of discomfort and introspection. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. When you step back, you give them and yourself a chance to examine the relationship from a new perspective. They start to recall the moments when they overlooked your efforts, the times they took your presence for granted. Regret may creep in, but something deeper takes its place: understanding. They begin to recognize that your absence isn't just silence, it's a lesson. Imagine a book you've put down after skimming through its pages. At first, you might think it wasn't that special. But when you return to it later, you start to notice the depth of its story and the meaning in its words. That's what happens when they reflect on your absence. What seemed ordinary before now feels significant. The moments they once dismissed become memories they treasure, and the value they missed becomes undeniable. But this reflection isn't just for them, it's for you too. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our growth, our emotions, and our journey. This is your opportunity to look inward, to ask yourself what truly matters, and to rebuild from within. Reflection is a powerful tool, not just for finding peace, but for cultivating resilience. Think of this time as a garden. In stepping back, you've cleared the space. Now it's time to plant seeds of self-improvement, whether it's pursuing passions you've put aside, strengthening your emotional intelligence, or finding joy in your own company. When you focus on your growth, you turn silence into strength and self-reflection into progress. For them, the realization comes slowly but profoundly. They start to connect the dots, to see how your support, kindness, and consistency added meaning to their life. They begin to understand that your presence wasn't just filling space, it was adding value they can't easily replace. This reflection often sparks a desire to change, not just in how they view you, but in how they view themselves. However, the purpose of this journey isn't to wait for their realization or their return. It's to grow into a version of yourself that you're proud of. A person who doesn't rely on others for validation. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This is your time to embody the strength, independence, and self-worth you've always had within you. So, what does this reflection mean for you? It means embracing the lessons, even if they're uncomfortable. It means focusing on your path while allowing them the space to learn on their own. And most importantly, it means realizing that your value doesn't fade in silence. It shines brighter than ever. 7. The Pull of Reconnection. As time passes, the silence you create begins to have a profound effect. What started as curiosity, then regret, transforms into something even deeper, a pull toward reconnection. This isn't about manipulation. It's the natural result of someone realizing your value after taking it for granted. The space you created allows them to see not just what they lost, but what they truly want. Human nature craves connection, especially with those who bring positivity, support, and meaning to their lives. When you stepped back, you didn't vanish. You allowed them to see the difference between your presence and your absence. Over time, that difference becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine a room once filled with warm sunlight. At first, its disappearance might go unnoticed as they adjust to the dim light. But as the days grow colder and darker, they long for the warmth and brightness that only the sun can provide. This is the pull of reconnection, a desire not just to fill the void, but to recapture the light you brought into their life. Stoic philosophy teaches us to act without attachment to the outcome. The purpose of stepping back was never to make them chase you, but to create a space for yourself to grow. Still, your transformation has an undeniable effect. When they see the strength and independence you've built, they're drawn not to who you were, but to who you've become. You're no longer the person they overlooked, you're someone they admire. Think about it. People are naturally drawn to those who radiate confidence and self-worth. When you stop seeking validation and instead focus on building your life, you become magnetic. Your silence and growth become an invitation, not for them to take you for granted again, but to approach you with newfound respect. Their pull toward reconnection isn't just about longing, it's about a deeper realization. They see now that your presence added value to their life in ways they didn't understand before. They remember the way you made them feel, heard, valued, supported, that not everyone brings those qualities into their world. As the French writer F. Scott Fitzgerald said, "There are all kinds of love in this world, but never the same love twice." They begin to understand that what you offer is unique, and the pull to reconnect becomes irresistible. But here's the key. Whether they act on this pull or not, your path forward doesn't depend on them. Stoicism reminds us that our strength lies in what we can control: our growth, our actions, and our mindset. The pull of reconnection is their journey, not yours. Your journey is about continuing to grow, thrive, and build a life that doesn't rely on their acknowledgement. So, what happens next? They may reach out, but the decision to reconnect should be on your terms. Will they meet the stronger, wiser version of you with the respect and value you deserve? Or will you continue forward, knowing your worth is not tied to their actions? 8. Moving forward. Redefining your relationships. The silence, the growth, and the reflection have led to this point. Moving forward is not just about reconnection or closure. It's about redefining what you want from your relationships, and more importantly, what you expect from yourself. This is where true strength guided by Stoic philosophy comes into play. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The journey you've undertaken has been about understanding your worth, reclaiming your power, and prioritizing your peace. Moving forward means carrying these lessons with you, not as burdens, but as the foundation of who you've become. Imagine yourself as a sculptor, chiseling away at a block of marble. Every choice you've made to step back, reflect, and grow has chipped away what doesn't serve you, revealing the masterpiece within. You've transformed silence into strength and absence into presence. Now, it's time to decide what role others will play in this new chapter of your life. If they choose to return, it's crucial to meet them with clarity. Ask yourself, do they recognize the person you've become? Are they approaching you with respect, understanding, and a willingness to grow alongside you? If not, Stoicism teaches us to let go of what doesn't align with our values. As hard as it may be, your growth demands that you prioritize relationships that uplift and inspire you, not those that drain or diminish you. Moving forward also means focusing on what you can control: your actions, your emotions, and your response to the world around you. You've learned that seeking validation from others is a losing game. Instead, you found value in building a life rooted in purpose, resilience, and self-worth. This doesn't mean shutting people out. It means welcoming them in only if they add value to your journey. Think of a garden. You've spent time clearing the weeds, planting seeds, and nurturing growth. Moving forward is about protecting that space. Not everyone deserves access to your garden. Some may admire it from afar, others may try to trample it, but only a few should be allowed to walk through its gates. This isn't selfish, it's self-respect. As you redefine your relationships, remember the power of boundaries. They're not walls to shut people out, but lines that protect your peace. Healthy relationships are built on mutual respect and understanding, not dependence or control. When you've grown into the best version of yourself, the right people will be drawn to you. Not because you seek them, but because of the energy and strength you exude. Moving forward isn't about forgetting the past, It's about carrying its lessons with grace. It's about understanding that your worth is not tied to someone else's actions or recognition. It's about living a life that aligns with your values and finding peace in knowing you are enough. As we close this chapter, it's clear that moving forward isn't just about them. It's about you. You've taken the steps to redefine your relationships, set boundaries, and grow into the person you were meant to be. The lessons learned from stepping back, reflecting, and reclaiming your power have shaped you into someone who doesn't rely on external validation, but instead finds peace and strength within. Now, you stand at a crossroads. Whether they choose to reconnect or not, your journey continues forward. Stoicism teaches us that the only approval you truly need is your own. The silence you've embraced isn't just a pause, it's a foundation for the life you're building. And this is where the most profound transformation begins. What if the most powerful message you could send isn't spoken at all? By stepping back, you let your silence resonate louder than words ever could. Silence isn't emptiness, it's strength. It's your way of reclaiming your energy, prioritizing your growth, and showing that your worth isn't dependent on anyone else's validation. This is the essence of living with purpose and peace, as inspired by Stoic philosophy. Their emotions, shock, regret, longing, are reflections of what they've lost. But the true power lies in your transformation. You've proven that your value shines brightest when you focus on your self-mastery and independence. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. If this journey resonates with you, let your silence echo louder than words. Like this video, subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official, and let's continue exploring the path to growth, emotional resilience, and inner peace together. Your journey begins now.